Good morning and welcome to a special meeting. This is October 28th, 2025, and a continuation of the meeting held on October 14th, 2025. So we will start with roll call, please.
Rashani. Here. Bird. Here. Oscar. Here. Capitan. Heckman.
Here. Jim had emailed and said that he had another meeting, so he would not be able to attend. Do we have Greg Pearson? Oh,
Yes.
Great. Greg, can we just wrap up the conversation from 2 weeks ago?
Sure, we can. Would you like me to present the slide deck again, or do you want to just have a discussion?
I think you can. I know that you did email that to everybody, but sure.
No, perfect. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So no, appreciate the opportunity just to kind of talk about dynamic pricing, but also all your parking products. Once again, as I mentioned before, earlier this month, with the ramp being completed, but also with you approaching your most busiest season, thought it would be good to kind of just go through this with you. And thankfully, you were able to make the decision to move forward with dynamic pricing, which I'll touch on in a little bit as well. So just looking at your capacity in comparison to this time last year, you have approximately 3,400 parking spaces with about 3,100 available, with that first floor being closed right now. So you're still 1,000 spaces more than what you had available this time last year. So we're in a much better position given the rush that we're expecting in these winter months. Looking down below, you have your rates listed out here, ranging anywhere from $25 all the way down to $9 per day, including that new economy overflow parking lot, which we opened in the winter months of last year as well. And to my right, you'll just see a map of all your parking products as they look around the airport and so forth. Looking at 2025 in comparison to 2024, this just kind of gives you an idea of the revenue in comparison to the prior year. I know Tana touches on this a lot during her presentation. This just kind of takes a little deeper dive into the specifics of each parking product, if you will. Obviously, the ramp is leading the way in comparison to what you had before with the short-term lot and so forth. And this is just with a couple months under its belt. So looking forward to how that's going to perform. Looking ahead as well, you have a stay duration of about 3 days right now. So that's looking pretty healthy as well. You'll find once we get to reservations that your average stay duration is somewhere between 4 to 6. So people that pre-book typically like to pre-book if they're going to stay for a longer stay duration, if you will. But over here to the right, it just kind of shows you how each parking product is comparing with year over year. And as I mentioned, even long term as well is outperforming, or will be outperforming 2024 as well as we get into the winter months of this year. What's happened a lot is with the closure of the short-term lot and then having valet for a partial point of the year, a lot of folks have been really capitalizing, utilizing the economy lots as well. And so that was the main reason we kept the valet or introduced the valet operation at Fargo, is we wanted to make sure we stayed engaged with that customer that would ultimately start to park in the ramp. And we're starting to see that now, but part of the discussion was just how can we make sure the price point is where it needs to be to make sure that we encourage them to use the parking ramp. And that's part of the dynamic pricing discussion as well. Looking at employee parking again is for employees that are operating out of the terminal building. Right now there's 168 or will be 168 spaces allocated to employee parking. The annual rate is $60 per year. And again, you'll see on the second bullet point, this is limited to tenants and terminal employees. Monthly parking is slightly different. This is for pilots, flight attendants, anyone that's essentially based out of Fargo that needs to park here at a certain cadence, if you will. They're assigned a Prox card, and that allows them access into the parking lot. They park currently in the East Economy lot. And we typically average about $3,500 in monthly revenue from monthly parkers as well. You'll look at our age trial balance at the bottom left corner, and you'll see we're running a pretty good ATB on this. The most we get really behind is about $125, and most of those folks typically catch up pretty quickly. So this is one of the lowest ATB reports, I would say, across most of the airports that we run. And again, this is the map to the right that just kind of shows you where each of those parking lots are. Parking lot 5 in the pink is your East Economy, and that's where we typically position the monthly parkers as well. So reservations and dynamic pricing. Just to kind of give you a recap, pre-book reservations, we earmark certain number of spaces based off each parking product. When we first opened the ramp August 6th, we allocated at 90 spaces to the parking ramp, and then premium reserve, we allocated 32 spaces, which is that first row of long term that butts up against the parking ramp. Long term, we allocate 500 spaces, West Economy 75, and then East Economy 125 spaces. This can be flexed throughout the year, and we typically find ourselves doing that, particularly during your winter months, when we see that there's not necessarily a need to have as many spaces for reservations or pre-book. We will kind of scale that down because we have so much drive-up traffic. So we flex this throughout the year, but right now, this is currently your allocation. The only exception is the parking ramp. After you approved to move forward with dynamic pricing earlier this month, we did up that to about 200 spaces, just so we can try to, again, push those folks that are currently in long term into the parking ramp so they can kind of have that experience. We found, again, once you try it out and upgrade that experience, you typically stick with it and continue to, use that same parking product. So we want to pull long term into the parking ramp and then pull economy into the long term lot. Dynamic pricing, as I mentioned, is available, or at the time that we presented this early in the month, was available at all but one parking product, and that was the parking ramp. Since then, we did add it to the parking ramp. So we're waiting to kind of see after the first month how that performance looks now that we've added that. Looking at it year over year, your exit performance through pre-book is up 30%. Your booking performance is up 25%. And your passenger penetration is right at 2% as well. I was able to update this since our last meeting before we were kind of working off of August 31st numbers. So now we got some September 30th numbers. October has secured $52,000 in revenue. And then November at the time had secured $8.9 thousand dollars in revenue as well as of October 22nd. And so that's really optimistic just because we're seeing that people are booking into November right now. But then additionally, that other percentage that's out there is people that are booking beyond November, which you'll find quite often as well. And as I mentioned earlier, your 4 to 6 day market is what's really driving most of this. Most people that pre-book are staying at least 4 days, but more than 6, which is why you want dynamic pricing as well. So this map or this table, which I hope you can see, really just kind of shows you how dynamic pricing works. From 1 to 3 days, there's not really any discount at all. On day 3, you get a modest discount for the parking ramp. Apologize, they just call it garage. Our partner does, but obviously you have a ramp. This is just the vernacular used across, their region, if you will. But you'll see across this table, as you get to more days, the discount gets a little heavier, right? And so in this particular example, it can get all the way down to $13. Now, again, we can flex this and massage this as needed. And we actually did before we deployed it since last meeting. We set the guardrails at $19 being the lowest price for the parking ramp, just because we said, let's test that out first before we try to discount it this deep and this far. But keep in mind, this would require you to stay 16 days in order for you to see a discount per day of this magnitude. But it just simply shows you that this 4 to 6 day stay duration is really the sweet spot of where folks would actually decide to pre-book and decide to pre-book because of some type of discount that they're getting over that stay duration. So I call it, this is the fork in the road, right? Where you make the decision to say, hey, do I go with that premium product that normally would be $25 per day? Or do I go ahead and just, park at a lesser expensive product or take a TNC, get a taxi, get dropped off, whatever the case may be. So this is just really illustrated to kind of show you how dynamic pricing works across all your parking products. But again, we didn't opt to implement this heavy of a discount just yet. We opted to kind of set the guardrails from $19 to $25 per day. And again, this is just re-emphasizing this again, showing you where the, highest percentage discounts are with that obviously being the 16-day stay duration. This also shows you the occupancy. If occupancy does not allow for discounts, then there are no discounts, right? And so we don't want to artificially offer any discounts if we're already full. This is intended to make you full year round or times where you're typically not full. So if you're at 50% occupancy, then yeah, we'll look at saying, hey, let's figure out what tier we need to apply a discount for. But if you're at full or at full occupancy, then you're paying the drive-up rate of $25. This is just to kind of show you the mix of stay durations based off of how we are currently, and with the orange representing the projected mix after implementing dynamic pricing. And you'll see the longer the stay duration, based off the projected mix, the higher the percentage. Once again, most folks that are coming for 1 or 2 days, they don't mind paying the drive-up rate. But if you're staying for those multiple days, there's no surprise that you're kind of typically a little more price sensitive and you may opt to pick a product that's a little less. And so this just kind of shows you what we anticipate the mix of your traffic would look like once we implement, since we implemented dynamic pricing. And then based off that stay duration of 5 to 7 days, we think that's going to be your highest point of travelers that opt to pre-book with you. So we presented two options. Once again, the option that you saw on that table before, that pretty much outlined, the highest, I guess, discount, which being at 16 days, going all the way down to approximately $13. That was option two. But then option one, which is one that we kind of developed internally, was simply to look at it and say, hey, we don't want to discount this any more than $19, which $19 stems from your previous short-term rate before you went up to 22. And so the thought is, if you were willing to pay the 22 or the 19 at least for the short-term lot, then this should be the steepest discount we should offer in each on the first run. So we implemented option one following last meeting. And so we do have option two still in our back pocket, but again, we would obviously broach that if we needed to. So the idea moving forward is to look at how option one performs, but then also scale the number of spaces that we have. Because again, this is not going to be across all 700 spaces. In this particular case, for now, it's going to be across the 200 spaces that we've allocated to pre-book. But if we see the performance being where it needs to be and the occupancy not being where it needs to be, we can scale this up to 300 or 350 spaces as well to get more revenue. So these are just one of those many levers that we've decided to kind of broach with you and present to you that you adopted last meeting to try to make sure we can get the revenue up to where it needs to be, but recognizing that we have not hit our peak season just yet. We expected August and September to somewhat be where it is. And so now we're really excited to kind of see where things lay now that we're getting into the busiest part of the parking season. Any questions?
Where are the employees that have to access the terminal on a daily basis? Where are they parking? Was that us 168 spaces?
So if you look here, it's this authorized number 4, authorized vehicles only. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's in this top right corner, this grayish area. Yes.
Okay. And then the crews can park in any lot or just East Economy?
Just East Economy. Yeah, we've carved out some space over there for them. Again, out of the number of folks that opt to sign up for monthly parking, which we make them go through a process of proving that they qualify. They do work in out of Fargo Airport as well. We don't just want anybody signing up. They obviously don't all park at the same time, so we've never had a issue of capacity from that standpoint because of them. We've only experienced capacity issues mainly because of just transient traffic.
Okay. And then where does everybody park that has the FAR oval sticker?
FAR oval stickers. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that is.
That's employee parking as well. So that would be in that number 4 lot?
Yeah, great.
Okay. And then I don't know if a crew member did inquire if there would be any opportunity to pay more than the $25 a month to be able to park in the parking garage.
I mean, it would be something we can discuss with the airport and administration and see if we wanted to do that. It's just a case of I would kind of give it a little more time. My concern with broaching that is I do believe at some point you'll be needing all the space in the parking ramp. And so I would just kind of give it more time to see where we're at on an average occupancy standpoint before we introduce moving them elsewhere.
Sure.
Again, it's not a large group, let me be clear. So to your point, it may be an option, and we do want to make sure that we utilize the space and monetize it, but we'd obviously want to monetize it for the higher price point, which is mainly your drive up or your reservation customers.
And I think everybody's excited about the parking ramp.
Madam Chair, Greg, what is it? It's 3,500, $25 a month, so 130, 140 people.
Correct. Yeah.
And Sean, just so I understand, we had talked one time about the leases in the building containing parking spaces, but that's not the case.
Only one is the TSA through the General Services Administration.
Okay, so Subway doesn't have this is your lease and it comes with 4 parking spots. So can they have 20 or is there
As many employees as they have per shift.
So if
Same
they
with
have
the car rental.
20, 30 part-time employees, they'll have 20 to 30. On the 168 spaces, how many total passes are in that lot?
What's the question? Passes are issued, I mean, for the employees. With all the TSA, the car rental, the restaurant, gift shop. I don't know.
I think we carved out
300
total,
total passes for employees in the building.
because we carved out the south half east economy lot for the temporary parking, and I think it was 140 spots, and there was days that it fills up. I mean, it shift
change.
crossover
Yeah,
and stuff.
shift
so-
changes when it really gets busy out there.
Okay.
Okay, well, yeah, just $5 a month seems pretty light.
And then how are you promoting the dynamic pricing?
So we do it a couple of ways. We've obviously had dynamic pricing at all locations, with the exception of the ramp, until this month, for the last few years. So we've built up a database of customers that have pre-booked with us before. And so we have the ability to market to those customers that have signed up for previous reservations and pre-books. We also promote it when you go to actually do your reservation and your pre-book as well. So once you get into it and decide which parking product you want to choose, we have the ability now to upsell you, if you will, and say, hey, if you're picking long term, we can kind of show you, you're doing a 4 or 5 day stay, choose the parking ramp. It's only this much more than long term. And so we found that conversion rate is pretty prevalent as well there. And then obviously on the parking guide, we call it essentially the web page of the Hector International Airport website. We promote it there as well.
Madam Chair, the last one, Greg, if we do see the hotel come in, what parking does that displace any of this? Or?
Is there a location just identified for that yet, or is it still
It
kind of
is.
fluid?
There's an additional lot that would be constructed potentially for the hotel by the control.
It's south of the 168 spaces.
The hotel won't
Hotels here.
compete on any employee spaces. They'd have the option to park in the lot that would be built for the hotel or the other surface lots or ramp and so forth.
And we've worked with airports that have had hotels developed on their land, to Sean's point, to where we essentially carve out space and, that space belongs to the hotels. A lot of times it could be a situation of a valet operation or even a self-park operation to where, they just utilize a certain segment of the lot that's deemed for the hotels. No different from how we carved out the economy lot for valet during this year and last year.
Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? Greg, thank you for calling in and
No worries. Thanks for
circling
having me.
back to that previous conversation and giving us those updates.
Thank you.
Number 12 is receive and approve the proposed master's services agreement with Eide Bailly. Tana's online. And then also I notice that under old business, we're going to discuss the CFO position as far as making it internal. To those
One has
conversations.
nothing to do with the other. This is completely separate. So Tana, you can explain. Stacy's reviewed it. This has nothing to do with the other topic.
Okay.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. The master service agreement that's in your packet, I'm not even going to put it up because the writing is so small. Excuse me. Because the writing is so small, and Stacy has also reviewed it. Basically, it's the Eide Bailly Master Service Agreement. It's all of the legal terms that Eide Bailly needs to provide to their clients. So it basically lays out the billing payment terms, which we have no issue with, the termination clause, sharing of data, storing of data, remote access, litigation, mediation procedures. It just lays all of that out, the limitation of liability. Stacy has gone through it. She recommended a couple of different changes to the Eide Bailly legal team, which I had no issues with. The Eide Bailly legal team made those changes. And as far as I know, Stacy's online, so unless she
Morning.
learns with it.
I guess all I would add is I did go through the agreement and I did make some recommendations which were accepted by their legal team. With regard to the termination provision, I would just point out that either party can terminate with written notice to the other party at any time for any reason. So that's a different termination clause than we've seen in other agreements. However, Eide Bailly cannot terminate if it's going to create undue harm to the airport. So I'm pleased with that clause. There is a mediation for dispute resolution. The parties agree that we will enter a mediation to try to handle any controversy that might arise before any litigation would be had. And that mediation now is agreed to occur in Fargo. It previously had been set in the agreement for Minneapolis or St. Paul, I don't remember. Then I would say with number 15, the time limitation, it talks about unless disallowed by law or regulation, the airport would have to bring proceedings within 24 months of the thing happening. I struggled with that language a little bit because the state of North Dakota has a 6-year breach of contract statute of limitations. But because of the language that says, unless disallowed by law or regulation, I feel as though there's an opportunity, if this were to arise, that an argument could be made for the 6-year statute. What was the only, I think those were the only 4 things I wanted to raise. Just so the board's aware.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move we approve.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Sean, do you have a recommendation for us?
To approve it.
Thank you.
And does it include the price increase in this contract,
No.
Stacy or Tana?
No, these are all just the legal terms of Eide Bailly. So within probably a month or so, the airport will be getting, we're calling it a scope of work now instead of an engagement letter. And that will set forth the terms and actually like the monthly duties, weekly duties, whatever. And at that time, a monthly price will be associated with that. And just so the board is aware, Eide Bailey plans to increase their rates probably 3 to 5%. But one other thing also to keep in mind, every time we do the billings, and we can talk more about it in detail when the scope of work comes out, we never bill at 100%. We're usually billing at about a rate of 75, 80% of what our actual billable work should be. So just something to keep in mind, but we can get more into detail of that when the scope of work comes out.
And one other question for you, Tana. You had made a recommendation to consider going internal because there would be a cost savings. Can you speak to that?
I have been tracking like the monthly rates that Eide Bailey pays versus what like an internal rate would be. And at quick glance, depending, I know Sean's had conversations about, we don't need somebody full time. And so I've kind of based it on a 40-hour week or a 30-hour week. And the savings based on that and based on the billings over the last 12 consecutive months, the savings could be anywhere from $50,000 to $95,000 savings to the airport. That would be savings cash wise, but you would also be gaining additional hours. So you could potentially be gaining 580 to 1,100 hours along with that savings. So if that is something that the board decides, coming up that they would like to start having those conversations, that is information I could provide.
And then again, this
This master service agreement for the legal would be December 31st. And then this is a contract that will never need to be signed again. It will just roll forward annually unless Eide Bailey makes a change, then they will come out with an amended change for a certain section.
and we've talked about potentially, do we still have tax balance and accounting under contract?
Balance tax and accounting, yes, through December 31st. So we'll figure out if we'll extend that for the next following year.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, how much is that, Sean?
It's around 32. Does that sound right, Tana?
Yeah, it does. I think the actual contract was, let me look, 32,604.
And that's a duty that you could absorb?
If the CFO duties were brought in-house, yes, I fully believe that it would be. I know they do all the bank reconciliations, journal entries for grant receipts, provide the monthly financial reporting. I don't know, did I miss anything else, Sean, that they
Fixed
do?
asset stuff and all the stuff for the auditor.
Yeah, they do help with the audit, provide information for the audit as well.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? There is a motion and a second. Roll call?
Rashani? Yes. Bird?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Beckman?
No. Okay, number 13. Receive communication from Fargo Aviation LLC regarding proposed NGA hangar and ground lease.
I don't know if Chris Tunheim or any of the Stroms are on. I don't think so. I don't see him. So this is for a hangar that this group would like to construct in the North General Aviation area, just north of the hangar that Rydell took over here. They have their ground layout in the packet. It's a really nice thing. The only thing I'm going to question them on is they want to add on to the approach to get to the hangar. I believe they can share the approach to get access to the hangar that Rydell has there right now. So it'd be at their expense. Our expense would be to extend the taxi lane north towards that. Jeff, I know you had a kind of a preliminary ballpark number for that. Was it under 200,000?
Oh, yeah, I'm confident in that.
To extend. So what they're looking for today is your approval to lease them the land to construct what they show here on here. Now, they have to go through and do an airspace study and there's other steps to do, but this is the next step in the process before they move forward with constructing. I don't think they'll be in the ground this spring, probably this fall, probably next spring. Chris Tunheim owns this property right here. This is where Chris is at. I don't know the Stroms. But I'd ask for your approval to lease them the property to get to the next step.
Mr. Cosgrove?
Sean, the extension there that serves, does that open up other property then?
Yeah, just like it would. So, I mean, you can serve, more construction in this area here in accordance with our master plan. So with need for not. So if you see it with the master plan, you show the extension. Where are we at here?
Yeah, it's just not single service to them.
No, it would open up development for these hangars here in the future. So it's not just for them, it's for others. So it is publicly, we would recover it in a PFC in the future. So this is good development. This isn't happening at other airports in the state. We got a lot of construction going on.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion, but I have a concern with it because we kind of have a setback on all these buildings here. And now this one juts out, it looks like 20 feet. So it's kind of like, I think we end up with a hodgepodge of stuff when you're driving in there. So if I look at that map, it's not a very good one, but we have this front sight line here and what they're proposing is coming out here.
Yeah, to the west. The west isn't. We're more concerned about the leading here.
What I'm saying is, then we've got the sight line here, and we have one out here, and then the next one there. I mean, I just think that everything, if this is an entrance that we're going to grow and expand, having one building jutting out here looks goofy. So, I mean, I don't support, and again, part of my concern, as I've talked before, is I think we need to develop a master plan so we can say, here's the sites we have for 10,000 square foot hangar, 40,000 square foot hangar, what people want. And we should do the preliminary work so people know I can lease that land and 90% sure I can build it.
That is the master plan.
Okay, and the master plan shows a spot there?
Yeah.
Where?
Right there.
Okay, but it doesn't show it jutting out
Correct.
here.
Understand.
It shows it even.
So what
So,
they'll do is probably extend the hangar to the north. That's fine. That's why it's before you today. If you don't like that, I'll just go back to them and say.
well,
you don't like it.
I'm just concerned that people don't have a standard to look at, and we haven't laid it out for them. So they put a lot of time and effort into coming here.
Yeah, it shows even. He knew that the extension to the west may be controversial. You can either approve it or deny it and just say, we want you to have the sight lines the same. That's why it's before you today. The master plan clearly shows
Yeah,
what
from
you're
my
talking about.
perspective, that should be the issue before us is, do we want to do something different than our master plan or not?
That's up to you.
Well, I know, but I mean, a lot of these things I don't think have had the right questions asked or the right issue brought before us. I mean, again, you didn't say they want to extend further to the west, which is not inconsistent with our master plan.
It shows it. So I thought it kind of spoke for itself.
Well,
One thing to keep in mind is the ramp side that matters, because it's a setback from the taxiway.
yeah,
That's the sight line, and then however big somebody wants to build a hangar, it's either wide or deep. I mean, on the public side, yeah, it's probably off, but it's on the aircraft side where the planes taxi through. There's that setback distance.
well, that's something we should have figured out from that side. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be all of a sudden, if you're going to do this, you have to pay for all that. I don't know. I just think we're missing an opportunity to encourage more development by not being consistent. By not having a clear master plan and then not being consistent.
I'd like to withdraw my motion and ask the CEO to go back and discuss compliance with the master plan to the proposal.
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay. So we have a directive for the CEO to, just like Dr. Rashani said. Okay,
Fine. That's the feedback they want. Thank you.
okay. Number 14, receive communications from the FAA administration and City of Fargo regarding special assessments to the airport property.
Doug Durgan is on from the city. So after a number of communications with the FAA, they did provide a letter dated October 8th that does allow the use of property tax levy revenue to pay special assessments, which is a major change in the FAA's policy that's been around for as long as this has been under consideration at this airport and other airports around the country. Osriff Berg, myself, met with the city some months ago in anticipation of this letter of determination from the FAA. And they came up with a plan to special assess not only the airport, but also the tenants on the airport as well. Doug has that plan in place. You can see the memorandum that he has provided, dated October 7th. With what the airport share is, the annual installment right now is projected at $205,885.27 for the airport. The plan today is to assess $99,502.74 to the tenants under the lease allocation that is there. So per your concurrence today, we'll work with the city, Susan Thompson and others to have them send us, an invoice for the amount that's due for this year per your approval. Knowing that this has set off a lot of debate at other airport district offices around the country. There's always the chance the FAA or somebody else in Washington could look at it and have a different interpretation of this. If that's the case, then they would require a clawback of those dollars that would be paid by the airport under this current October 8th allowance. But we'll see where that goes from there. So
I would just ask, Madam Chairman, Doug, thanks for your work and all your extra effort in working through this. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is this the same as we've talked about a month and a half ago, basically the assessment?
Yeah, nothing changed from any prior meetings or communication. The only thing that had been discussed on our end since we've met last is the lease allocation. We feel pretty strongly that we can just wait a year on that so we can follow the proper channel and not rush it through for certification in 2025. So the leasees and the 99,000 or so principal amount going to them, we can go through the proper channels and do that in 2026, and that would be their first installment then. That way we can send them a notification, allow them to pay that in full if they choose, and the first installment would be for the 2026 tax year. Since we're right up against certification time, actually tomorrow or the next day, we felt it better just to leave that amount to go to 2026.
I think that's a good idea. So what is the issue you're looking for? Is there a motion we need?
yes, to approve the plan, receive the letter from the Federal Aviation Administration, and then just approve the proposed special assessment plan that Mr. Durgan laid out, dated October 7th, with the allocation to the airport, with the current projects that are being special assessed at $205,885.27. The city will remit all the levy money to us as they have for years and years. They will send us an invoice, so there's proper documentation for the auditor of this being paid. So there's a clear.
Okay, so I would just have a comment on the agenda. If that's the issue we need to decide, we should put that on the agenda. So I think the issue is we need to vote on whether or not we pay the special assessments as presented.
Correct.
I would move we do.
Second.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Doug, I think we have in place deferral agreements. Do we have to rescind those also? Or?
No, Those two projects will stay deferred. Those agreements are in place, and it doesn't affect those two past projects. So really, we're just speaking of these two projects from 2020 or so, and then future. Those two other ones that are under deferment, those can stay and per agreement as long as the airport is the airport. Those agreements and that deferral will stay in place.
What was
For
the
those
amount?
two.
What was the amount of those? That wasn't 50,000.
Yeah, pretty small.
It'll take me a minute to find it.
While you're looking for that, Doug, I'd
Yes.
just like to go ahead and keep looking, but I just want to thank you for all your work. And this is something that's been a contention between the city and us for like 3 years. And I think when the city supported our continuing 2 mills, that was one of the things that we said we'd do, is try and see if we can work out a solution. And I think this is a really good solution. I mean, I don't like having the specials go back to a lot of our tenants on the field, but I think it's fair for what's being done. And, you know, the whole issue is, I think, John, you said this, and that was the clearest thing. Some of these cities had high-speed rail going to their airport, and they were using FAA dollars to spend more than their share of that high-speed rail. And so I don't think it was ever intended to do special improvements normal on streets and those types of things. So I think we got caught up in the language, and I think this is a real good faith part on our side to work with the city and help them offset some of these improvements that they're doing. So.
Yeah, and we certainly reciprocate that feeling, and just working with Sean and his team and being able to meet with some of the authority board and go through things. As you said, Rick, this has been a long process, and on the city side, we're glad that, you know, we were able to work through it and navigate to a place that we both can agree on, and again, appreciate all the work on the airport side as well. Those two projects, one was from 2002, had a principal balance that's deferred of $83,794.58, and then from 2018, project BN16C had a principal balance of $553,992.54, and those are so roughly about $635,000 or so. That's the amount that will just stay deferred per that agreement.
So it's been around for about 23 years.
And that's accruing interest. So
No, not to get in the weeds on it, but I think you explained it to me really well. Doug, I forgot how you explained it, but basically, if I understood it at the time they were put on, they could really be deferred indefinitely.
Correct. Yep.
So.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Roll call.
Rashani?
Yes.
Bird? Aye. Cosgrove? Aye. Heckman?
Aye.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on this. Old business, safety report.
Nothing safety wise to report. Pro Resources still comes out and engages our safety committee and our employees monthly with their safety training and inspections. So things are going well there, but nothing to report for our staff.
Any issues with the roof membrane safety wise?
Well, there were. Darren was out here on Sunday when the debris was coming off of the roof. I mean, if you see the video, the implosion.
I blocked off the whole west side. It's still blocked off today because there's still stuff up there. It's too dangerous for the crews to go up there till the wind goes down. But I'm thinking today they'll get up there to be able to fasten it, and then we should be, I guess, back in business on this side until, yeah.
He's got video that we can send out to you.
I would ask that at our next meeting, we get a full report on the roof. You know, what's being done to ensure it doesn't blow off again, and also who has liability for that.
Yeah, we'll do that once they gather information. They don't know the cause yet because they haven't been up there. The North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund did retain an engineering firm. I forget where they're from. We just got that email this morning. and then an adjuster from Watertown, South Dakota. That'll be up when conditions allow to take a look at it. McGough is hiring their own internal engineering firm or others to also look at it as well. So we'll have that report ready for you at the November 10th meeting.
Well, my only concern is if we get in litigation a year from now with McGough because the roof blows off again, I mean, we may want to have our own independent engineer look at what they report. So anyway, there's a lot of information that needs to be gathered, but I think next meeting, it'd be good to know what was the cause, what's the solution, and who's liable going forward.
Hopefully have those answers by then. No guarantee, but we'll try.
But I would encourage, if we need any third-party people to represent us on that, I would encourage us to do that.
Yeah, that's what NDERF is doing, I think, on our behalf. I mean, through Bell
They're
Insurance.
doing it on their behalf.
On their behalf, yes.
Right. I'm saying we
Understand.
And Madam Chair, the previous blow off is this, there was another incident, I think, during construction, was it? And that's been settled or?
Yeah, that would cost us not quite $490,000. We paid McGough for that, and then Hanover Insurance, who had the builder's risk policy, we had a $50,000 deductible, so that cost us $50,000 for that. We're under NDERF. We have
that was during construction.
During construction.
So I mean, I'm much more concerned about this.
Well, yeah, sort of seems not to be.
There is a warranty and so forth. NDERF is looking towards the warranty, so the roof membrane manufacturers. So Herzog Roofing is the roofer of contracts. So there's a lot of information and details that need to be sorted out, and hopefully that'll be ready by the 10th.
And was that prior roof issue during construction? Is that
Yes.
the same issue with the membrane?
Yes.
Okay.
Although during construction, some of the edges weren't put on during that. They didn't have everything fully constructed during construction.
Okay.
But this one here, they had all the, I don't know what the terminology is. The seams were on the edges. The flashing, thank you.
The flasher was missing the first time, and then
Yeah, but the flashing is on now, so.
Got it. Any more discussion on the safety report? Okay, moving on. The hotel SOIQ update.
Tom is on. If there's questions, it is out, published in the forum this week and on our website. It was provided to Shirley Hughes at the FMCVB to distribute to all of their hotel managers, who in turn would give it to all of their owners. I don't know if there's any other questions, but it is out there.
Here's my only question. Did we reach out to all the hotel operators in the region?
That's what the CVB is doing for us, but we will find out. I don't know where to find that list, but we can. I guess if someone has a list, let me know. Shirley Hughes has a pretty extensive list right now. Shirley Hughes, she's the Convention and Visitors Bureau Director.
Yeah. Well, I just don't want someone to miss it. Not people are not going to be. I mean, Builders and Exchange. I mean, there's a system where people put it out. So
I know.
I
Added to
just.
that, the Builders Exchange.
I mean, how do we? I want confidence that everyone that's a potential hotel developer would have the information.
I don't know if a hotel developer would look at Builders Exchange though.
How? So I don't think you. So how would you do it?
Well, it's in the form. It's on the airport's website, and then it went to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I guess I don't know how to get it to specific hotel developers.
If there's a list, I guess we'd have to look for one.
Right.
It's the ones you miss that create your problems.
I would think a little bit of effort would be. I mean, these are all companies that are licensed with the Secretary of State. We know the brands that are in North Dakota, South Dakota. So maybe sending a memo out to that.
To do that.
Again, I want to make sure that we cast a wide net early in the system here. And I think we should be probably calling some of those that we know have expressed an interest in making sure that they're aware of the timing on this. I mean, I would guess all hotels in Fargo, Bismarck, and Grand Forks be registered with the city. You know, I mean, this is important to us, and I don't want to rely on the forum, and I don't want to rely on Visitors and Convention Bureau.
And even the Sioux Falls developer that did the
Well, yeah,
airport hotel in Sioux Falls.
I would look at all the hotels that are attached to terminals in the Midwest and make sure the developer of those hotels gets a notice.
Rick, just FYI, the one Port Sioux Falls, they reached out and we talked to them early on. They have been circled back with on them. So anybody that had talked to me previously, I did go back and let them know, point to them where it would be at on the website. They confirmed they did see it through the convention, Visitors and Convention Bureau. So that is reaching out. We did get out to them. We'll take a note on your other actions too to look, see if we can find other hotel developers.
Because I think that developer specifically has the clubhouse in Fargo.
Yeah.
So
I just don't want someone to be excluded that would have an interest.
Is that a directive?
I mean,
We
I don't
can
think
do
we
our
need a
best to
motion.
find it. I mean, you put it out in the public arena. We'll try and track down as many as we can, but we'll figure something out. I can't say somebody would be excluded if they don't see it or we're not aware of them, but we'll try and find lists.
Well, again, this isn't that complicated. I mean, there's maybe 10 people that would be interested in Fargo and Sioux Falls. I mean, I think reaching out to them, sending the RFP.
Do you have some names of those so we don't miss anyone?
I can take a couple hours and look for names.
Oh,
But
no, I'll look for them. I just thought you knew some right off the top of your head here, but if not, that's fine.
We'll probably.
anyway,
We'll find it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, Paula would know. I mean,
Well, give us some names. I mean, that's fine. We'll do the search too, but I just don't want to miss anyone.
Like the Theraldson Group or Bridge Hospitality or
Carlson's has it.
Christensen's and
Brand.
Grants. Yep.
They all have it.
It's just off the top of my head, but there's a lot.
Yeah, it's most important that we cover the Fargo firms.
We have REITs that may be interested.
Madam Chair, Tom, are there other Midwestern airports with hotels, smaller, similar to Fargo?
They're becoming more common. They haven't been common. I think, a lot of them, when you're looking at Sioux Falls size, Fargo size, you're just starting to get to where that starts making good business sense.
Okay.
So that's why you're seeing more of them come to life. So it's kind of an emerging trend, in my opinion.
Does the developer from Minneapolis have the information, Tom?
Again, we just advertise like we do any projects. We'll go back and look, see if there's some sites that you can find. I'm reaching out to some friends of mine that do some hotel communication, see if they have a listing of any hotel developers in the upper Midwest. We'll see what we can find for lists. And
Well, I would just say whoever did the hotel at the Minneapolis airport would be someone that should be contacted.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to discuss CFO and internal marketing community engagement position.
Madam Chair, I believe we included in the budget dollars for these two positions. I am not certain that we took formal action to develop job descriptions and start the process. I thought we had, but perhaps that has not been
Well, I would say, again, what is the decision we need to make? That's the question.
Dr. Bashani?
Just as a matter of principle, I've never been involved with a board that would direct the CEO how to staff themselves administratively, so that we're even discussing this, giving the CEO the support if he chooses to do these things, I'm fine with. But if we're directing the CEO to structure his administration in a way, I'm really uncomfortable with that unusual action. Well, and I would just, again, what's the issue we need to decide here? I mean, clearly we had this issue a year before you were on, Dean, about whether or not we have ideally come in and be an outside CFO. And, that was not something that staff supported. I think it's something in retrospect, everyone feels was a good decision. So, we need to get on the same page here. So if, yeah.
So in speaking with Flint, they have stated that they think that it would be a benefit to have somebody in-house or internal that would work with them because there's community engagement things, specifically there's fundraising, there's like everything from decorating for Christmas to organizing school tours or kids to come in and sing, or service animals, visiting the airport, like for instance Grand Forks does. There's a lot of promoting the honor flight, doing some welcoming, for instance the Fargo Marathon, those type of roles that really Flint would appreciate having somebody in-house to do those type of things at a lesser cost than, and to partner with Flint. So this was a suggestion from our current marketing.
Yeah, so the issue really is whether or not we do this or not. And, I think we need a motion to move forward. I mean, I would probably look to maybe direct the staff to present a plan on how they would implement both an internal CFO and an internal marketing person, and share the benefits of doing that and the challenges of doing that. So we can kind of get this to a deeper level and have a discussion. So I would move that staff present a plan on how to implement internal CFO and internal marketing person with pros and cons of it.
Would you accept a friendly amendment?
Depends what it is.
Yeah, exactly. To change the wording to ask the staff to develop a recommendation of whether to do this or not.
I think we've already had the recommendation. Staff's recommendation was no.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty clear. So I guess I'd like just to do a deeper dive on that.
I'll second the motion. Madam Chair, we have had the discussion, the whole CFO discussion went to the contract CFO because of staff's resistance to that. We've heard there are savings and everything else. So I'm worried we just keep moving this along. I would like to see something happen that, because we talked about developing job descriptions and everything else, that hasn't happened. So the only thing I would ask is that the goal is to, if approved, have the CFO and internal marketing position hired this year. And I know that gets real tight.
Yeah, I mean, both these positions would work for the CEO.
Yep.
So, I mean, if we don't have, that's not workable, it's not workable, we don't want to do it.
Right.
But I still think from what was
presented to us, there's an opportunity to maybe see it in a different light.
Well, I do think the CFO position could in the early stages also include some human resources. I just think there's efficiencies to an internal position at this point, understanding the role and what the benefits are of it. And we've seen a lot of the benefits over the last year and through the whole process. So I just don't want us to keep kicking this down the road.
Initially, when we passed when the board voted to add the CFO position, it was not to hire, a company. It was, the motion was to hire somebody internally.
Yeah.
And then we brought in Ide Bailey, which I think was a very effective segue to implementing, to seeing how the CFO would work, and the benefits. And I think we've seen that. So I would go back to even the initial vote to have a CFO.
Well, the purpose of my motion was to give, staff a clear direction that we think this is important and give them a period of time to kind of look at how they would implement that.
Madam Chair, Rick, the only thing I would say is that, we put the timelines around it such that the goal is, if approved, to have this position in place by first year, which may have to be pushed time.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that's important once we make a decision, but if staff's on board, I think that'll.
well, then at the least, this report would come back at our next meeting here in 2 weeks.
For decision.
And that, because we know the recommendation has been not to do this.
Any more discussion? So we have a motion. Do we have a second to the?
I second
because,
the motion.
Okay. Do you want to clarify? Because there was a motion, then the second kind of was.
I think Joan has a motion.
Okay. All right.
You want it reread or are you good?
Yeah, why don't you read it, Joan?
Direct staff to make a plan on how they would implement the two positions and share both benefits and challenges.
And we can make a final decision.
By the next meeting. That's the only.
Okay.
You're adding that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I'm assuming you're saying with that information, that'll be an agenda item, we can make a decision.
Roll call.
Shawnee? No.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, governance committee update.
Got nothing. I mean, Dean, you can speak to it, but I mean, our effort for governance kind of was stalled several months ago. And so I guess it's kind of, I think there's a need for that. I think when we went from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting a month, that's okay, but a lot of work needs to be done in between that period. And so when issues come to this board, they're not just thrown out with, okay, let's discuss it and start from ground zero, but we have a meeting and we have a clear issue before us on the agenda that needs a decision. And so I think, again, I'm fine with, I don't know, I guess we probably need board direction if we want to move forward or not. I mean, that was kind of twofold. It was clarifying our role as a board, clarifying the role of the CEO, and also putting in some measurables and accountability in that whole system. So I think we either need to revisit that and make the time to move it forward, or we need to think of, okay, do we just take some of those pieces out and start implementing on our board? You know, I mean, we can form a subcommittee if we want. We can identify some objectives for this, for the airport authority for the next year. We can put some accountability measures in, and we can do those things. So I guess, Dean, you maybe want to say something or not.
Well, I think the underlying problem is whether the board has the discipline to follow the governance policy. And ironically, the item right before this illustrates that the board doesn't have that discipline. And I suspect I won't speak for him, but I suspect our consultant would share a similar perspective. And therein is how we get to a stall point. So that's the update.
Okay. So
Perfect.
I feel like when we did first get Dr. Schatz on board, when you did your discovery with interviewing some different people that could guide us through governance, that was 1.5 years ago. That was like last spring. And so during this time, we've held off on establishing committees or doing the levers that would get some work done outside the meetings. And so I feel like if we are not going to proceed with or pursue governance in a proactive way, that maybe our board needs to look at establishing some committees to assist with this work that should be taking place outside the meetings to improve the efficiency of the time that we have here. Dr. Bashani?
And I appreciate that sincere recommendation that comes up fairly frequently from you. My concern is, again, a matter of discipline. Will this board respect any recommendation coming from a committee? I don't believe they will. So we'll end up having committee meetings that get completely rerun in full board meetings. So we're just wasting time with committee meetings. I appreciate the notion of what you're suggesting, but again, I just don't believe the board has the discipline to respect committee recommendations. So they're a futile endeavor.
How would you like to proceed on governance? How would the board like to proceed on governance?
Well, I think the bottom line is if we need to be proactive in a lot of the management things in the airport as board members, then the governance model doesn't work. So I think if we're going to continue to be proactive, we need to figure out a way to put that together. And I think Dean makes a great point. If we're going to have a committee, we need to know that the committee is going to bring recommendations forward and decisions can be made. So we don't have committees meeting without clear directive and clear outcomes that the board wants. So, yeah, I mean, again, we can go either way, but I think the challenge that I've seen with our board meetings is, again, we come and an agenda says receive the communications and talk. We don't have a clear, do we vote yes or no? What's the issue we need to make a decision on? And so we need to figure out a vehicle for, getting the background work done and bringing it to the board so the board can make a decision. So I don't have a solution, but I think that would help us with our process.
Do you want to continue So are you saying that you want to discontinue the relationship with Dr. Schatz?
Well, I don't think he's really involved anymore.
Okay.
I think he's waiting for us to take that next step. So I just, again, the current situation, I don't think that's an alternative. So, so then I think we need to figure out a way to get the work done prior to the meetings so we can make a decision at the meetings.
Madam Chair, Rick, a lot of what happens here is that we do have agenda items and we do not have information. And one way to approach that is to ask for suggested motions with each agenda item.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is to we spend a lot of time trying to sort of get the information out. I don't know if that's something you'd anticipate being done in committees. But there's always going to be the final vote at the board, and the committee is always making a recommendation. It's not taking action. And in a public board where each of us are representing the public and that we know and deal with, we're always going to have those disagreements and discussions and different positions at the board level. So
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I go back to a lot of our time and effort is spent trying to get information to make the decisions. Case in point being, I didn't realize on the very simple matter of ground lease, we were doing an exception to policy. And so that's a good example of why these things strike out, why we need to spend the time as needed.
If I could say a couple things, I may be out of line, but
no.
I'm thinking that to go along with what Mr. Berg and Mr. Cosgrove said, we could, and maybe I should have talked to Sean and Joan about this first, but maybe we could fix the agenda or formulate the agenda so when the new business is laid out there, it's not necessarily, this is the new business, we're going to approve this, here's 10 pages of detail. We could maybe say like new business is approve the bids for phase 1 of the South GA. We received these bids, this is what it was, this is, give a little summary. And then it could have a section that said the executive director's recommendation is this. This is what we would like the motion to be. I mean, we could maybe like lay it out a little bit better. So as you're reading through the board packets, it's like, here's the business, here's the summary, here's Sean's recommendation, here's the motion we want made. We can include the extra 10 pages of detail at the end of the board packet if you want to look at it before the meeting. But that might help assist, speeding things along at the meeting better. Especially if you have Sean's thoughts and the summary of it ahead of time as well.
Well, and I think maybe the action step would be for, as a chairman and as Sean, executive director, you would work out what you think would improve. And feel free to call on anyone for input.
Okay. One thing I think would help would be to have the pages of the agenda numbered so that when we do need to reference something, it would be more efficiently, found by board members.
I have another more fun topic.
Okay.
Done with that. So the U.S. Customs Office here in Fargo, what we do, if I understand, we provide them space and we own all their equipment in their office as part of attracting them to come and be a customs office. I happened to meet with the guy over there, and I said, well, is there anything that would be helpful for you? And he said, well, they would, if they could have, when people are in there waiting, if they had a screen or a television. They also said if they had internet service or higher speed internet in the custom office while people are waiting. And he used the example of Elon Musk being in their lobby waiting to clear customs and not being able to use any of his devices. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I don't think it needs a motion or anything like that, but I think we ought to check into that because we're really blessed to have the custom office here in Fargo, and it might be Sean, you got any background on that? Or?
Well, the TV was denied by customs, so I mean, I'll have to run that up the chain. I mean, it's not in their technical specifications. If it's not there, we can't provide it. But if they call and say they want a TV, they'll have to, that's not a problem. We can have one installed today, but that was denied by Pembina years ago when it was built. As far as the internet, that's up to them. They have service. They're looking for Wi-Fi. We've had that discussion there, but once again, Customs IT has to approve all that. We just can't go put Wi-Fi in and say, here, use it. That has to be approved by a higher chain of command. That's been around for a long time. I can look at it again. I don't know if
it just seems like we should be able to fix that. I mean, I would think for Sweeney's or the Jet Center and everyone else that's filling up these, transcontinental flights, that would be, again, I'm sure there's some approval that needs to happen, but
I can re-engage and see. I'll work with Nathan to find out when Pembina now would be in charge of that, but then they got to go to headquarters, or actually Seattle to get approval. So
again, I don't know, but I think it'd be, maybe just reach out to Nate and talk to him about that. I mean, they're a great service for.
Oh, they are. No, they
we
are.
don't want to lose them. They say our space is one of the best anywhere.
They are.
And you're referring to the customs office that's up at the Jet Center?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look for the TV. It's just a matter then.
I bet Clear Channel put one in there. They're looking for 4 locations.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. Any other discussion?
One last item on governance. And one other thing I think that kind of got twisted around the axle on was open meetings. And my philosophy on open meetings is all our meetings are open.
Yep.
And if we're doing things to try and not have open meetings, we're just wasting our time and effort. Because if we're doing that, we should be concerned about this being open. So that's the other part of those committees. Would they be open? Both. Treat them all as open meetings.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's kind of what we resolved. I mean, an open meeting is just notifying the press 24 hours in advance we're having this meeting. And I think we've gotten into that habit when we've met, and I think it's a good thing.
Yep.
It's required that they're open when members are appointed to a committee.
Yeah. So I and rather,
but that's not a barrier.
Don't use that as the reason not to. And just simply, if you notice every meeting, you're fine.
Never have. We've always noticed. So it's not an issue. Never has been.
All right. Will we adjourn?
Public comment first.
We still have to do the public comment period. So regarding topics discussed today or from the previous meetings held on September 9th of 2025 or October 14th of 25. Any public comment? Any from online? Okay. Public comment period is closed. I would just like to thank everybody on board. I think everybody brings a different level of expertise and experience. And so I appreciate the teamwork level. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting adjourned.